Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I now call this meeting of the Brevard County Board of Zoning Adjustment to order. First order of business, Mr. Bodie, would you please describe the function and operation of the Board of Zoning Adjustment to our applicants in the audience?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial body established by the Board of County Commissioners under Chapter 62, Article 2, Division 4 of the Brevard County Code. The Board of Adjustment is empowered to hear requests for variances to the zoning regulation and the sign regulation in Chapter 62, Article 6, and Article 9. Pursuant to the Florida Rules of Appellate Procedure, any person or persons jointly or severally aggrieved by any decision of the Board of Adjustment may, within 30 days after the date the order is signed, apply to a court of competent jurisdiction for appropriate relief. Mr. Chairman, you have two items on your agenda today.
Thank you, Mr. Bodie. Would Mr. Higgins, our Vice Chair, please explain to the applicants in the audience the statutory definition of a hardship?
An undue hardship. A variance may be granted when it will be not be contrary to the public interest and where owing to special conditions, little enforcement of the provision of this chapter will result in unnecessary and undue hardship. The term undue hardship has a specific legal definition in this context and essentially means that without the requested variance, the applicant will have no reasonable use of the subject property under existing development regulations. Personal or medical reasons shall not be considered as grounds for establishing undue hardship sufficient to qualify an applicant for a variance. Economic reasons may be considered only in instances where the landowner cannot yield a reasonable use and or a reasonable return under the existing land development regulations. The applicant must answer a variance hardship worksheet with 6 questions. The Board of Adjustment will discuss these questions today with each applicant who has requested a variance.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. I would like to address the board members, the applicants, and our audience about the procedures that we will be following today. The Board of Zoning Adjustment, as a quasi-judicial board with the members appointed by the Brevard County Board of Commissioners, will utilize Robert's Rules of Order to conduct its proceedings. The chair is asking all board members not to ask questions while the applicants are making their presentations. Once the applicants have completed their presentation, we will begin board questioning with the board member who represents the applicant's district. When concluded, questioning is open to the full board. The chair will recognize each board member in turn. Once all board members have completed their questioning, we will then open the floor to the audience who may be here to speak concerning the applicant's application. Anyone from the audience wishing to speak will be given the opportunity to address the board once, but only once. So be complete and concise when you're up here. At the conclusion of public comment, the applicant will be given additional time for rebuttal, as well as to present their final comments. Once that is completed, no further comment will be heard from the applicant or the public. The action then moves to this side of the bar for board discussion and action. We will not use a timer for the meeting. Instead, we are asking each speaker to be concise in what they have to say. It's important that you stay on subject and avoid information that is not relevant. All persons speaking must provide their name and address for the public record. Those wishing not to verbally state their address may ask the clerk at the podium for an address card. You can fill it out and return it to the clerk. Are there any questions from the board on these procedures?
No.
Are there any questions from the audience on these procedures? Okay, with that taken care of, our next item of business is to approve last month's meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion. Do we approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
I'll second. Yeah, you
Okay.
can have the second.
Go ahead. That's fine.
I'll second.
Mr. Higgins has made a motion to approve. Mr. McCann has made the second. All All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Okay, we now move to the applications. Mr. Bodie, may we have the first applicant, please?
Yes, item number 1, Robert J. Woodhouse requests variance of Chapter 62, Article 6, Brevard County Code, Section 62-1334, 4, to permit a variance of 1.50 acres from the required minimum 2.5 acre lot size in an AU agricultural zoning zoning classification is located at 3735 Detroit Street in Cocoa in District 1.
Thank you. Would the applicant step forward, please? Please speak clearly into the microphone. I need to swear you in.
Okay.
Do you swear that the testimony you are giving us today is the truth?
Yes, sir.
And I've reversed my order. You need to state your name and address.
Robert J. Woodhouse, 3735 Detroit Street, Cocoa, Florida, 32926.
Okay. Please, how can we help you?
I turned in for a hardship variance because I bought this piece of property mainly to put up a building to accommodate the equipment that I have, and didn't realize until I pulled a permit. Actually, I ordered a building back in before January, and didn't realize until I pulled the permit on it that wouldn't accommodate, my lot wouldn't accommodate the building that I ordered. So that's why I'm putting in for this hardship. And actually, I figured that most of the people around me, at least a third of the lots around me, have either that size building or bigger. So I didn't, at the time I bought the lot, I didn't figure that I couldn't put up that size building.
Your application arises in District 1, and Mr. Higgins is your district rep for that?
How you doing, sir? Were you going to use this building for commercial use? You have a lot of commercial vehicles, it seems like, in the yard, bucket truck, et cetera.
No, it's not really commercial use. I have a tree farm in South Carolina, and I bring equipment back and forth from there to have maintenance worked on here because I spend most of my time here. And so it's equipment that might be a tractor or a bucket truck or something like that.
So those cars and trucks that are all parked?
No, the other one is the older vehicles they're going to be scrapped. My son had them on a lot, and he had to move them somewhere. They have nothing to do with this. It's just mainly the equipment, the bucket truck and trailers and stuff that I use for running back and forth.
But it's not to run a business out of there, though?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other board members have questions?
I have a couple of comments, please. Mr. Higgins, did you check to see what the other properties in that area are?
Yeah, it's kind of a mix. Throughout that whole community over there, I think, as we all have known over the years. But it's pretty crowded, in my opinion. But it does coincide with several of them in the vicinity.
Mr. Bodie, I'm sorry, question for you, sir.
I'm sorry, what was that?
A question for you. Currently, he's looking to get it rezoned to agricultural, is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. That way it would allow him to have an accessory structure of whatever size he needs, just meeting setbacks.
But he would not be able to build that building with our approval of this today. He would just be able to move forward to try to get the zoning change. Is that correct?
The building wouldn't be able to get built with the GU zoning to the size that he's requesting in his building permit.
It would be able to be built?
No, it wouldn't.
Would not?
No, it would not, no.
So even if we approve the variance, he still has to go through the
That's correct. He still has to go through the rezoning process.
before he'd be able to build that building. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
One more question. What size is it? I'm trying to,
It's a 30 by 50. Actually, there's 3 buildings across the street from me, bigger than that building, because I bet I know 2 of them are 40 by 60. And like a lot of the lots around there, I know about a third of them are zoned agriculture.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So your purpose for that building is to store your equipment?
Just equipment, tools, and equipment I have.
And it's equipment you already have
Yes,
on property?
yes.
No,
No?
you don't have all your equipment on there that you're thinking about storing there.
No, it's, no, most of the equipment is there. Like I say, if I may bring a tractor to be worked on from South Carolina, or something like that, or vehicles that
Well,
I.
correct me if I'm wrong, the west side, back in the corner, all in vehicles, you say you're scrapping all them.
Yeah, them older
But with the
vehicles
bucket
are,
truck and the other vehicles on this side,
yeah,
mainly
the
you keep
trailers
them.
and stuff are stuff that I want to keep in the building. And there's a backhoe there, a track,
and
backhoe.
what do you, and you run a tree farm, do you do any business down here?
No, it's not a business, it's just no, I don't do it, I'm no business, I'm retired.
Okay, thank you.
Any more?
No.
Any more? Any last statement?
No. No, I've had a bucket truck, I retired from the power company, I've had that ever since I've worked for Florida Power and Light, so it's just something I've had and I've used, use it for basically keeping trees and stuff trimmed up in my yard and stuff like that, so.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, one more question, please.
sure.
Have you talked to your neighbors?
Yeah, I get along with all my neighbors and none of them have.
Did you talk to them about the building you're wanting to
Yeah,
build?
I have no problem with any of them.
None of them had a problem with it?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. For formality, I need you to just step aside
Sure.
and ask if there's any. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor or against this application? Seeing none, please. And again, last words, and then we'll take it from there.
No, I just wondered what I do from after this procedure.
I would suggest that when we're done here, that you talk to the permitting staff
Okay, thank you very
afterwards.
much.
Yep,
That's it?
yeah, please,
Okay,
take a
thank
seat.
you.
All right. Gentlemen, do I have a motion to approve or deny this application?
You want to make a motion?
No, go ahead.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve it as stated, the size of the building and the use of the building. I guess we have no choice, but that we approve it as requested.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Can I just, out of abundance of caution, when you make a motion, can you specifically state as depicted on the survey? That way there's no,
Gotcha.
thank
Well,
you.
it's not really clear in there, but I'll do the best I can on that. But I'll revise that. I'll make a motion that we approve, subject to the submittal, approve the variance requested as submitted as per the drawing submitted, the survey. Yeah, depicted on the survey.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Higgins has made a motion to approve the application as depicted in the application and the drawings. Mr. McCann has seconded the motion, moves to any board discussion.
I do have just one thing, Mr. Chairman. I do have a concern that we are allowing a 1 acre parcel.
1.5.
Now, the variance is for 1.5 acres.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a 1 acre parcel in what is supposed to be a 2.5 acre
Yeah, you're right.
area. That does give me some concern because there's a reason that we want 2.5 acres for agricultural zoning, because then it allows for the items such as what he is wanting to do. So I'm just sharing that I do have a concern with that. And because of that, I would be not in favor.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
If we turn in the application to page 6, and we have a zoning map of the immediate area, and on that zoning map, there's more than 40 agricultural zoned properties, the majority of which are the same size as the subject property. So I think it's consistent with the neighborhood and consistent with the area for the potential zoning change.
Okay,
It is some writing around there. Everything, like I said, is in complete character that.
That's good information. Thank you, sir.
any further discussion? Okay, I will try and summarize what I heard by reading through the 6 questions as our legal staff requires us to. As soon as I find my notes. I'll use the application. No, I'm looking for the worksheet. Sorry it takes so long. There we go. Okay, there are 6 hardship questions which were responded to and discussed. That special conditions and circumstances exist which are not applicable to other land structures or buildings in the applicable zoning classification. What I heard was that the other properties around here were similarly zoned, and that there was a mixture of like uses in that area. That the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. He is trying to, it will result from the actions of the applicant, but it appears to be consistent with the neighborhood. That granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by the provisions of this chapter to other lands, buildings, and structures in the identical zoning classification. The key words here are special privilege, and that usually applies to government officials, celebrities, and the like. And I will presume, having not heard of you before, that you're not a celebrity in our neighborhood. So that does not apply. The literal enforcement of the provisions of the chapter will deprive the applicants of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the identical zoning classification under the provisions of this chapter, and will constitute unnecessary and undue hardship on the applicant. Yes, a literal enforcement would deprive you of rights to build your building, but the words commonly enjoyed by other properties in the identical zoning classification. As we heard, there are other properties in that area which are similarly zoned, and a mixture of similar uses. That the variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of land, building, or structure. Apparently that is true if you're going to build the building of that size. That the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of this chapter, and that such use variance will not be injurious to the area involved or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. I don't see this as detrimental to the public welfare, and seems to be generally in harmony with the neighborhood. So having read those 6 and tried to summarize our discussion, I will now call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. No meaning nay?
Nay.
Okay. So the vote is 3-1, and the application is approved, or the motion is approved. Okay, thank you. Mr. Bodie, may we have our next applicant, please?
Yes, item number 2, Rod E. Brown requests variances of Chapter 62, Article 6, Brevard County Code as follows. Variance number 1, Section 62, Section 62, 2100.51B to permit a variance of 32 square feet over the total floor area of the principal structure, allowed for all detached accessory structures. Variance number 2, Section 62, 2100.51D to permit a variance of 942 square feet over the 658 square feet, 50% of the living area of the principal structure, allowed for an accessory structure in an RU-1-11 single-family residential zoning classification located on 520 Grove Park Lane, Merritt Island, in District 2.
Will the applicant please come forward? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Rod Brown, 520 Grove Park Lane, Merritt Island, Florida, 32953.
Okay, I need to swear you in. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
All right, how may we help you?
I'm looking for to build a garage in my backyard for my pretty much stools, cars, and lawn equipment. I'm getting ruined from pretty much the sun. My house is too small for anything else, pretty much living space. I did not know that this would be a problem to build a garage in my backyard. That's why I'm here.
Okay. We will now move to questions from the board. Mr. McCann, this application arises in your district.
I have a question for Mr. Bodie about the summary of the application. I understand the variance application for number 1, but the variance application number 2, the 650 square feet would be the permissible size for an accessory structure, which would be 50% of the living area of the principal structure?
Yes, that's correct. He has 1,316 square feet of living area. 50% would be 658 square feet. So he's looking at a variance of 942 square feet over the 50%.
So I'm just a little confused, and I know you're going to clear it up for me. 942 square feet variance over the existing 658 square foot variance. Would that not be over 100% variance and not 30%?
I'm not sure where you're getting the 30% at.
I'm sorry, towards the bottom of that paragraph, it says the second request equates to a 30% deviation of what the code allows.
It might be calculated wrong. I don't have a calculator right now to calculate it. I think it's 30% over what it is, though, from what he's allowed 658 square feet. He's asking for a variance of 942 square feet more.
So he's wanting 1,500 square feet.
He's wanting 1,600 square feet.
So that's over 100% variance then, is it not? It's almost 150%.
Yeah, I don't have a calculator with me.
Because he's asking for an additional 942 over the 658.
Right.
30% of the 658 would only be 190.
in order to
Am I correct?
expedite.
Is that the math you're getting?
I think you are, but just to expedite, it appears that he's asking for 150% plus or minus 1.5 times what's allowed in addition to. So it comes up to about 2.5 times what's allowed.
That is correct.
And for the purposes of our discussion, I think that approximation works.
All right, thank you.
So if I may just talk about what's different about this application is that AU does not have the limit. So there is no limit as far as square footage of an accessory structure. Since this is a single-family RU 1-11, there is a cap at 50% of the living area or 600 square feet. So that's where the difference between this application or not. But the bottom line is that the applicant is only allowed to have the 658 square, or I'm sorry, yeah,
658 square feet
Yeah.
is what he's permitted.
yes.
So he's asking for 1,600 square feet. So yes, it is 942 square feet over, which would be over 100%. You're correct.
Thank you, thank you. Hey, yes, I want to ask the applicant a few questions, if I may. I'm curious about the actual structure you're building. I'd like to just know more about it. You described it as a garage,
It's a steel building,
steel building,
made up in MIMS, Discovery Building Company.
prefabbed.
Yeah.
1 or 2 stories,
One,
and 40 by 40?
yes,
How many bays, how many garage bays will that,
just two.
2 garage bays?
Yes.
So most of it's storage.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is there going to be an actual driveway leading back to the garage in your
Yes,
backyard?
going down the side of my house.
Where the existing carport is, or
Yes,
between the carport and the property line?
from the road straight down to the side of the house where the carport is, through the garage.
So you're going to lose the carport, or you'll just
No, you
be
can,
able to
it
drive
could
through
stay
it?
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have an intention to enclose the carport?
No,
and
no,
make
absolutely not.
another room in there?
Yeah, if anything, I would tear it down, if
Okay.
anything. Because it's personally there for protection, really. Because cars in the sun they're ruined. My cars are just horrible.
Do you plan on doing any mechanical work in there for any revenue?
No, good God, no.
So the structure will be, how much do you feel as though, because the survey it's drawn in, the structure's drawn in the survey, it's not, surveyed into it, and it states 40 by 40. I'm not seeing that is, as depicted on the survey, accurate in
Yeah,
size.
well, I was in the office and I didn't really do to scale because they just wanted to know where it was on a property,
Okay.
as opposed to, measuring it and cutting it out.
But you plan on adhering to the required setbacks from the property
Oh,
lines?
absolutely, yeah, of course.
Okay, I don't have a question. Thank you.
The yard looks awful small for that size garage. If you look at the place, do you, you say you don't do any work on it. Do you work on boats or anything?
Yeah, my own personal. I
Yeah.
have boats and I
No
have a
others?
truck. No,
You don't do any modifications for boats?
no.
Questions, I guess. You pretty much answered them all.
Now, you stated in your comments that you could have built 2 buildings versus 1. And so my question to you is this, okay? If most of this building is going to be storage, why wouldn't you build a garage in one building, then your storage building in another, if you could do 2 buildings without the variance?
Well, what I was told was, it didn't make any sense to me that I could build as many as I want on my property, as long as they were 10 feet apart. To me, I'm like, why can't I just build one building?
Well, I don't think you can build as many as you want.
Well, yeah, I was under the impression, as many as your property would fit, I was under the impression. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm not sure, I don't think that's correct, is it?
He would be, our code
He'd be able
allows
to build
for
two?
up to two.
Yes.
At 658 square feet each.
Each. So if you built the two, you could go, 1,300 square feet and not need a variance.
I would just rather have one building instead of, two buildings.
But we're also going 1,600 square feet instead of 1,300, am I correct?
Yes,
Yeah. How tall is that building?
14,
14 feet?
yes.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I might ask, did you see the opposition letter that came in?
Yes.
Okay. You have any comments toward that?
It wasn't a problem until the house was for sale. Now it's a problem. I've talked to the gentleman. He said, no problem when you're putting it up. Anytime you want, wait, I don't care. All the way up until the house is for sale. Now he cares.
Okay. All right.
Have you talked to any other neighbors about
Yes.
what you're doing?
Uh-huh, sure.
And they had no
Before I even,
complaints?
when I heard I needed a variance, I talked to all my neighbors and none of them cared.
Really? Okay.
I see no more questions. I need to go through a procedure to ask for the for and against, allowed to talk, so could you step
Sure.
aside, please? I will-
Okay.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor or against this application?
I know there is neighbors, but I don't know if they hear you.
If, as seeing no one volunteering to come forward, we'll let the letter stand on its own without any, do you want to come forward or no? No, okay, no, that's fine, it's your privilege. So the letter stands on its own as entered into the record. You can return, please. Give you one last statement, and then we'll go into our discussion.
Okay, I just wanted to say that going into, I can only afford the house that I got. And it's, it's very small. And knowing this, I saw the property and the size of the property. I bought the house knowing that hopefully I could build a garage, put some of my stuff in and protect it. That's pretty much why I'm here. I just didn't realize that I needed to go through all this to put all my stuff in the garage. I'm having a problem right now with my plumbing. They're collapsing. So I need to take most of all my house out and put it somewhere in order to fix and repair the pipes. My other problem.
Okay. I think we have one more question.
I have one more. Why is it that you need a 14-foot garage for storage? That's a
Well,
high building.
Yeah, well, I didn't want it too high.
Was that for boats to get in there?
Yeah, my boat's very tall, my truck is very tall.
Is that 14 feet to the eaves or 14 feet to the peak?
To the peak.
14 feet to the
Yeah.
peak. What's the eaves height?
I think it's
Approximately.
3 feet shorter than that, I believe, depending on the
10.
building site.
So you're
Is that
probably
an
going with
example?
11-foot, like 11-foot door? What size door are they?
They're 10-foot doors,
Okay.
roll-up
Okay.
So
doors.
that's probably 11 feet.
Yeah. Okay,
None.
all right.
My vehicle's a little over 7 feet tall.
Okay, thank you. Please have a
Right,
seat.
thank you.
I've seen it.
Okay, at this point, we need a motion to approve or disapprove this application.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for both variance requests as depicted on the survey.
Do I hear a second? Am I allowed to second? As chairman? I can't make a motion, but can I second? I guess I should be looking to,
I think we're looking into that. I know you can't make a motion, but I don't know if that is the same for seconding.
I understand.
I could be wrong, obviously, it's the attorney, but I think you're permitted to the second, you just can't make the motion.
Right, I think so, but I want to
We'll wait
make sure,
for her to tell us for
absolutely,
sure.
yes.
That's why we pay our legal staff. And they're going to phone a friend.
Mr. Chairman, what I would suggest to do is just take a 5-minute recess and then let them research it, and we can come back in 5 minutes, or we can just sit here.
We can declare a short recess if people need to take a refreshment break or something, but we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Calling the meeting back to order. At this point, we have a motion to approve our second application. We are anxiously awaiting a reading from our legal folks about who can second.
Yes, the chair can second.
All right. For the purposes of getting this on the ballot here, I will second the motion. And now we can move to a discussion of the motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
150% deviation from code is an extreme amount of deviation from code. Plus, this garage ends up being significantly larger even than the house is, which would not be even in conformity with the property that he has there. For those reasons, I would not be in favor of this motion.
Okay. Any other comments from the other board?
I had the pleasure of visiting the subject location yesterday, and I was allowed to go in the backyard and look at the area in which the garage is proposed to be built. It is suggested, and also part of the survey, where the location is would be along the property line of the adjacent property owners who sent a letter in opposition. Their property would actually back up to the side property line of the subject property. So looking from anywhere in the back of their house out through their backyard, they would be looking at that property line. And the 1,600 square foot proposed building would be right in the view outside their back door, outside their back windows, right from their backyard. And I think the code, I may be wrong, I'm speculating, but I think the code written as if it could be in multiple buildings as far as the 50% of this, let's see.
The code would allow for 2 buildings.
The code would allow for 2 buildings, and I think the 2 buildings, the way the code is written, would substantially alleviate the issue that the neighbors in opposition of the variance request is having, where the entire 1,600 square feet is right along their property line.
Are you allowed to build 8 feet from the property line there?
The setback is 7.5 off the rear, 7.5 off the side, 5-foot separation from any other structures on the property.
And please be aware, the sketch of the 40 by 40 building that he's put in there is not to scale in the least. Again, it would be larger than the residence structure that you have on that drawing or on the survey.
And will you request in your motion that it be actually submitted with the correction? No? Okay.
I don't think that would be necessary. We know what size building he's wanting to build. That would just bring us back to this same point at a future date.
He would need to
Okay.
have that drawn correctly for a permit application anyway.
I'm also in agreement with Dale as he stated. So we have a 2-2 tie.
Well, my comments were, my impressions are that you stated that, or the applicant stated that he could build 2, but he preferred 1. That's not the minimum. I'm swayed by the letter of opposition. I guess those are my 2 comments. So is there any more board discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a point of clarification. If he built 2 buildings, they would each be each be 658 square feet. So he wouldn't be able to get to the 1,600 square feet that he wants now. He'd get the 1,300 square feet if he built 2 buildings.
Understood.
Okay.
So my duty now is to read the 6 hardship questions. When I find the worksheet. All right. So, 6 standards for a hardship exemption. That special conditions and circumstances exist which are not applicable to other land, structures, or buildings in the applicable zoning classification. No, it appears that all the other lots in this area are of similar size. That special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. Well, yes, they will. And purchase the property. The granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by the provisions of this chapter. Again, that goes to government officials and celebrities and renowned persons. The literal enforcement of the provisions of this chapter would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the identical zoning classification of the provisions of this chapter would constitute unnecessary and undue hardship. Commonly enjoyed by other properties in the identical zoning classification, I find that hard to support. Or I believe our discussions have said that we find that hard to support. That the variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of land, building, or structure. Again, I go back to the 2 building versus 1 building. This is not necessarily the minimum. That the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of this chapter, and that such variance will not be injurious to the area involved or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. That is not supported by the letter of opposition. Having read through those and tried to summarize our discussion, I will now call the vote. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, the vote is 0 to 4. The application is, or the motion to approve, the motion is denied. The application does not pass. Seeing no other business before the board, I will declare this meeting of the Brevard County Board of Zoning Adjustment adjourned.
Thank you.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.